What if I told you that when a man kisses you, he is noticing far more than your lips? You might think the kiss is about chemistry, attraction, passion, that unforgettable moment when two people finally get close enough to feel what words could never explain. But a man is watching, he is feeling, and sometimes, without saying a single word, he is learning things about you that you never intended to reveal. Because a kiss isn't just physical. A kiss can expose confidence. It can reveal insecurity. It can show whether you're comfortable with yourself. It can tell him whether you're present in the moment or desperately trying to make him feel something. And here's the part most women don't realize. A man may forget the exact words you said on your first date. He may forget what you were wearing. He may even forget what restaurant you went to. But he will remember how you made him feel when you were close enough for everything else to disappear. That's why the way you kiss can communicate something much deeper than attraction. It can communicate your energy, your confidence, your emotional connection, your ability to let go without losing yourself. And if you understand these five things men secretly notice when a woman kisses them, you'll stop worrying about whether you're doing everything perfectly. Because the most attractive woman in the room isn't necessarily the woman who knows every move. She's the woman who knows her own worth. She's not trying to perform. She's not trying to prove she's desirable. She's not silently asking, "Do you like me enough?" She's simply present. And that kind of confidence can be more powerful than anything you could ever do physically. The first thing a man notices is whether you are genuinely comfortable with yourself. Think about that. Before he notices technique, before he notices intensity, before he notices anything else, he can feel whether you're relaxed or whether you're nervous because you're desperately trying to impress him. And there is nothing wrong with being nervous. Everybody gets nervous when something matters. But there's a difference between being nervous and being disconnected from yourself. When a woman constantly worries about how she's being perceived, she stops experiencing the moment. She's thinking about her breath. She's thinking about whether she's doing enough. She's wondering if he likes it. She's wondering whether he is comparing her to another woman. She's wondering what he's going to think afterward. And suddenly she's physically there, but emotionally she's somewhere else. A man can feel that, not because every man is some expert at reading emotions, but because human beings recognize energy. When someone is comfortable, you feel it. When someone is pretending, you feel that too. That's why confidence is so attractive. Confidence says, "I don't need to earn your approval every second." Confidence says, "I'm here because I want to be here, not because I'm afraid you'll leave." Confidence says, "I know who I am, even when I'm vulnerable." And vulnerability is powerful when it comes from confidence, because a woman who can be soft without becoming desperate is unforgettable. A woman who can be passionate without losing herself is unforgettable. A woman who can enjoy intimacy without turning it into a test of her worth is unforgettable. That's the difference. You should never measure your value by how strongly a man responds to you. His reaction doesn't determine your beauty. His attention doesn't determine your worth. His desire doesn't determine your importance. You are valuable before he kisses you. You are valuable while he kisses you. And you remain valuable whether he stays afterward or walks away. That mindset changes everything. Because when you stop kissing someone to make them choose you, you become free to actually experience the connection. And that freedom is attractive. The second thing a man notices is your level of presence. Is your mind actually in the moment? Or are you already thinking about what happens next? There is something incredibly powerful about being fully present with another person. When two people are together and neither one is distracted by fear, expectations, or insecurity, there's a different kind of connection. You can feel it. There's no performance, no pressure, no invisible scoreboard. Just two people experiencing the moment. And that's what many men remember, not perfection presence. A woman who is truly present isn't trying to create a movie scene. She's not trying to copy something she saw online. She's not thinking, what would make him obsessed with me? She's simply responding naturally to the connection between them. And that authenticity creates a kind of intimacy that cannot be manufactured. Because men can tell when something feels genuine. Maybe not consciously. Maybe he couldn't explain it if you asked him. But he knows when the moment feels real. And here's something important. Being present doesn't mean becoming completely consumed by another person. It doesn't mean losing your boundaries. It doesn't mean forgetting yourself. It means you're comfortable enough to experience closeness without turning closeness into desperation. You can be fully present and still know where you stand. You can enjoy the moment and still have standards. You can care deeply and still protect your heart. That's emotional maturity. And emotional maturity is attractive because it creates safety. The third thing a man notices is how you respond to him. Not how perfectly you perform, how you respond. There's a huge difference. Kakanch is not a one-person performance. It is a conversation without words. One person moves closer, the other responds. One person slows down, the other senses it. One person becomes more affectionate, the other responds naturally. That responsiveness creates chemistry. But here's where many women make a mistake. They become so focused on giving a man what they think he wants that they forget to listen to their own feelings. They start believing they have to be impressive. They have to be exciting. They have to make him remember them. They have to somehow become the woman he cannot live without. But you don't build genuine connection by trying to control someone's emotions. You build it through authenticity. If you're comfortable, let yourself be comfortable. If you want to slow down, slow down. If something doesn't feel right, don't force it. Your boundaries don't make you less attractive. They make your presence meaningful. A woman who knows how to communicate without fear carries herself differently. She doesn't believe that saying no will automatically make a man lose interest. She doesn't believe she has to surrender her standards to keep someone around. And she doesn't confuse physical intimacy with emotional commitment. That distinction can save your heart. Because sometimes a woman experiences a powerful kiss and immediately starts writing an entire future in her mind. She starts imagining what he's going to do tomorrow, whether he's going to text, whether he's falling in love, whether this means the relationship is becoming serious. And suddenly, one moment has become an entire emotional investment. Slow down. Let a moment be a moment. A kiss can be beautiful without being a promise. Chemistry can be real without guaranteeing a future. Attraction can exist without meaning commitment. And understanding that protects you from attaching your entire emotional security to one interaction. The fourth thing a man notices is your emotional energy. This is deeper than physical attraction. Because your energy enters the room from before your words do. Think about the difference between being around someone who desperately needs validation and being around someone who genuinely enjoys who they are. The first person makes you feel pressure. The second person makes you feel peace. And peace is powerful. A woman who has learned to be comfortable with herself doesn't enter intimacy begging silently to be chosen. She doesn't think, if I make him feel amazing, maybe he'll finally love me. She doesn't use affection as currency. She doesn't give more just to receive more. She understands that love should never feel like a transaction. And that changes the entire dynamic. Because when you stop trying to manipulate the outcome, you become emotionally lighter. You stop analyzing every facial expression. You stop checking your phone every 30 seconds. You stop wondering why he hasn't texted yet. You stop turning every interaction into evidence for or against your worth. And suddenly, you have your power back. That's the energy men notice. Not because you're playing hard to get, not because you're pretending not to care, but because you genuinely have a life beyond his attention. You have dreams, goals, standards, friends, purpose, peace. And when a man realizes that your happiness didn't begin with him, he understands something important. He is being invited into your life. He is not being asked to become your entire life. There is a huge difference. A woman who needs someone to complete her will always fear losing them. But a woman who is already whole can choose love without becoming controlled by the fear of losing it. And that is a completely different kind of woman. The fifth thing he notices is what happens after the kiss. Yes? Because sometimes the most powerful part isn't the kiss itself. It's who you become afterward. Do you suddenly become anxious? Do you start demanding reassurance? Do you immediately need to know what the moment meant? Do you start texting repeatedly because you're afraid the connection might disappear? Or do you remain grounded? Do you continue being yourself? Do you allow him space to process the moment without chasing a conclusion? This is where emotional strength becomes visible, because anybody can feel confident when everything is going perfectly. Real confidence shows up when you don't know what happens next. You don't need to force clarity in the middle of uncertainty. You don't need to chase someone into giving you an answer. You don't need to convince a man that you're worth choosing. Let his actions speak. Let consistency speak. Let effort speak. Let character speak. A kiss may tell you there is attraction, but what happens afterward tells you whether there is intention. And that's what you should pay attention to. Never allow a beautiful moment to make you ignore an ugly pattern. Never allow chemistry to make you overlook disrespect. Never allow attraction to convince you that inconsistency is love. And never confuse someone's desire for you with their ability to value you. Because those are two very different things. A man can desire you and still not be ready for a relationship. A man can be attracted to you and still not know how to love you. A man can enjoy your presence and still not have the maturity to give you what you deserve. That's why your standards matter. That's why your self-respect matters. That's why your emotional independence matters. The goal isn't to become the woman a man becomes addicted to. The goal is to become the woman who never has to abandon herself to keep a man. Because once you understand your value, you stop asking the wrong question. You stop asking, how do I make him want me? And you start asking, does this man deserve access to me? That's a powerful shift. Because when you're constantly trying to be chosen, you forget that you are also choosing. You are evaluating. You are observing. You are deciding. And you have every right to decide whether someone deserves your time, your energy, your affection, and your heart. Never forget that. Your softness is not weakness. Your affection is not weakness. Your desire is not weakness. But giving those things to someone who hasn't earned them can leave you feeling empty. So don't be afraid of intimacy. Just don't use intimacy to purchase love. Don't use a kiss to secure a relationship. Don't use affection to stop someone from leaving. Give because you genuinely want to give. Love because you genuinely want to love. And remain grounded enough to walk away when the relationship no longer honors who you are. Because the most magnetic woman isn't the one who knows exactly how to make a man obsessed. She's the one who knows she doesn't need obsession. She wants respect. She wants consistency. She wants honesty. She wants effort. She wants a connection where she doesn't have to constantly wonder where she stands. And when you become that woman, everything changes. You don't chase. You don't beg. You don't manipulate. You don't compete. You simply observe. You allow people to reveal themselves. And you trust what their actions show you, because the right man won't require you to destroy your peace. just to keep his attention. The right connection won't leave you constantly questioning your worth, and the right kind of love won't require you to become someone you're not. So yes, a man may notice your confidence when you kiss him. He may notice your presence. He may notice your responsiveness. He may notice your emotional energy. And he may notice how you carry yourself afterward. But there is something far more important than all five. He will notice whether you respect yourself, and eventually, so will you. Because the greatest attraction isn't created when someone finally sees your value. It is created when you finally see it yourself. And once you do, you stop settling for moments that feel good but leave you empty. You stop chasing temporary attention. You stop confusing chemistry with commitment. You stop allowing one kiss to determine your entire emotional future. You start choosing yourself. And that's when love becomes different. Not because you learn how to make someone chase you, but because you learned that you should never have to chase someone who truly wants to walk beside you. And that brings us to something every woman needs to understand. A kiss can create a spark, but character determines whether that spark becomes something worth keeping. You cannot build a healthy relationship on chemistry alone. Chemistry can pull two people together, but respect keeps them together. Communication keeps them together. Consistency keeps them together. Trust keeps them together. And self-respect keeps you from staying when those things are missing. So if a man kisses you and you feel an incredible connection, enjoy the moment. Don't be afraid of it. Don't overthink it. But don't hand that moment the power to define your future. You don't know what someone feels based on one kiss. You learn what someone feels by watching what they consistently do. Does he call when he says he will? Does he make time for you? Does he respect your boundaries? Does he listen when you speak? Does he show up when things aren't convenient? Does he make you feel secure instead of constantly confused? Those are the questions that matter. Because a man can kiss you like you're the only woman in the world and still treat you like an option the next morning. And when that happens, don't blame yourself. Don't ask yourself what you did wrong. Don't start analyzing the kiss. Don't start wondering whether you should have kissed differently. The problem wasn't the kiss. The problem was the character behind it. Never take responsibility for another person's inability to be consistent. You can be beautiful. You can be loving. You can be supportive. You can create incredible chemistry. And someone can still fail to value you. That doesn't reduce your value. It reveals their capacity. There is a lesson every woman should carry with her. You are not responsible for making another person recognize your worth. Your responsibility is recognizing it yourself. Because when you know your worth, you stop begging people to treat you well. You stop negotiating your standards. You stop accepting crumbs because you're afraid the alternative is loneliness. And you stop confusing being wanted with being valued. There is a difference between a man wanting access to you and a man wanting to build something meaningful with you. Pay attention to that difference. A man may want your attention. A man may want your affection. A man may want your body. A man may want your company. But the man who truly values you will also care about your peace. He will care about your feelings. He will care about your boundaries. He will care about your future. He will care about the impact his behavior has on you. That's the kind of connection worth protecting. And that's why the most powerful thing you can bring into any romantic relationship isn't some secret technique. It's self-respect. Because self-respect changes what you tolerate. It changes what you pursue. It changes what you believe you deserve. And it changes how you respond when someone doesn't give you what you need. Without self-respect, you may stay because you're afraid of starting over. With self-respect, you understand that being alone is better than being constantly undervalued. Without self-respect, you may chase answers. With self-respect, you watch actions. Without self-respect, you may beg for attention. With self-respect, you allow people to show you whether they want to be there. Without self-respect, you may try to become irresistible. With self-respect, you understand that the right person doesn't need to be manipulated into appreciating you. That's freedom. And freedom is one of the most attractive things a person can carry. You don't have to become cold. You don't have to pretend you don't care. You don't have to ignore someone just to make them chase you. You don't have to play games. You don't have to become emotionally unavailable. Real strength isn't pretending you have no feelings. Real strength is having feelings without allowing those feelings to control your decisions. You can miss someone and still maintain your standards. You can love someone and still walk away. You can desire someone and still say no. You can feel chemistry and still take your time. You can enjoy a kiss and still wait for actions before giving someone your heart. That's maturity. And mature love isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's patient. Sometimes it's simply two people showing up for each other again and again. No games, no manipulation, no emotional roller coaster, no constant uncertainty, just consistency. And if you have ever been in a situation where a man gave you intense attention one day and disappeared the next, understand this. Confusion is not chemistry. Inconsistency is not mystery. Emotional distance is not automatically a sign that he secretly cares deeply. Sometimes inconsistency is simply inconsistency, and you don't need to turn it into a romantic story to make it easier to accept. You deserve clarity. You deserve someone whose actions don't force you to become a detective. You deserve someone who doesn't make you spend your nights analyzing messages, response times, emojis, social media activity, and every tiny detail of an interaction. Love should not require constant investigation. When someone genuinely wants to build with you, you won't have to decode everything. You may still have misunderstandings. You may still have disagreements. You may still have moments of uncertainty, but there will be an underlying consistency. You will know that the person cares because their behavior keeps confirming it. And that's what you should look for. Not the intensity of one night, the consistency of many days. Not the sweetness of one kiss. The respect shown over time, not how passionately someone looks at you, how faithfully they treat you when nobody is watching. That's where real love reveals itself. So when you think about the 5 things a man secretly notices when a woman kisses him, remember that these things aren't about becoming some perfect version of yourself. They are about becoming more authentic. Be comfortable in your own skin. Be present. Respond naturally. Carry emotional peace. And remain grounded afterward. You don't need to memorize some formula. You don't need to become an actress. You don't need to pretend to be someone you're not. Because the woman who is trying too hard to be unforgettable can become so focused on his reaction that she forgets to ask herself whether she actually enjoys being with him. Don't make that mistake. Ask yourself questions too. How do I feel around him? Do I feel safe? Do I feel respected? Can I be myself? Can I communicate honestly? Does he listen? Does he make me feel peaceful? Do his actions match his words? Do I like the woman I become when I'm around him? That last question is powerful because sometimes we're so focused on whether someone likes us that we forget to ask whether we like ourselves around them. Maybe you're constantly anxious. Maybe you're always waiting for the next text. Maybe you're afraid to speak honestly. Maybe you're always trying to avoid upsetting him. Maybe you're giving more than you're receiving. Maybe you're shrinking yourself because you're afraid that being fully yourself will make him leave. If that's happening, don't ignore it. The right relationship should not require you to disappear. You should not have to become smaller to make someone comfortable. You should not have to silence your needs to keep someone interested. You should not have to pretend you're okay when you're not. You should not have to earn basic respect through perfect behavior. You deserve a relationship where your authenticity is welcomed. And here's something else that matters. A confident woman doesn't measure herself against other women. She doesn't walk into a room wondering whether she's prettier than the woman across the room. She doesn't obsess over who he follows online. She doesn't constantly compare herself to his ex. She understands that attraction isn't a competition. There will always be someone younger, someone taller, someone thinner, someone louder, someone with a different personality, someone with a different style. But nobody else has your exact combination of experiences, personality, heart, humor, perspective, and energy. You don't become valuable by becoming better than another woman. You become powerful by becoming fully yourself. That's what confidence really is. It's not thinking you're better than everyone. It's knowing you don't need to be better than everyone to be worthy. And when you carry that mindset into intimacy, you stop performing, you stop comparing, you stop worrying. You become present. And presence creates connection. Maybe that's what a man remembers most. Not whether every moment was perfect, not whether you followed some secret rule, but whether being close to you felt genuine, whether he felt that you were actually there with him, whether you were comfortable enough to let the moment happen naturally, and whether your energy felt peaceful rather than desperate. But remember something else. His opinion is not the final verdict on you. If he loves the way you kiss, wonderful. If he doesn't feel the connection you're hoping for, that doesn't mean you failed. Compatibility isn't a test. Sometimes two good people simply don't create the right connection. That doesn't make either person defective. It means they weren't the right match. And mature women understand that rejection isn't always humiliation. Sometimes rejection is redirection. Sometimes the person who didn't choose you was simply making room for someone who will. Don't chase someone into seeing what another person will recognize naturally. Don't spend months trying to convince someone to give you what they freely give someone else. Your life is too valuable. Your time is too valuable. Your heart is too valuable. You shouldn't have to audition for love. You shouldn't have to compete for basic attention. You shouldn't have to convince someone to communicate with you. You shouldn't have to beg someone to make plans. You shouldn't have to remind someone that you exist. The right connection won't require constant begging. And yes, relationships require effort. But there's a difference between effort and desperation. Effort is mutual. Desperation is one-sided. Effort builds. Desperation drains. Effort feels like two people moving toward each other. Desperation feels like one person running while the other keeps walking away. Now the difference. And if you ever find yourself chasing, stop for a moment, take a breath, put your phone down. Don't send the fifth message. Don't create another excuse to contact him. Don't post something hoping he'll see it. Don't try to make him jealous. Don't create drama just to get a reaction. Instead, ask yourself, why am I chasing someone who isn't showing me the same energy? That question can change your life, because sometimes the person you're chasing isn't the person you actually want. You're chasing validation. You're chasing closure. You're chasing the version of him you imagined. You're chasing the beginning of the relationship instead of looking at the reality of the relationship. And you have to be brave enough to separate potential from reality. Potential is what someone could become. Character is who they are right now. Don't build your future around potential. Build it around patterns. Plus, tell the truth. If someone repeatedly respects you, that's a pattern. If someone repeatedly disappears, that's a pattern. If someone repeatedly communicates, that's a pattern. If someone repeatedly breaks promises, that's a pattern. If someone consistently makes you feel valued, that's a pattern. And patterns matter more than promises. So yes, let the kiss be beautiful. Let yourself feel. Let yourself enjoy attraction. Let yourself experience romance, but keep your eyes open. Your heart can be open without your judgment being closed. That's the balance. Love deeply, but see clearly. Care genuinely, but keep your standards. Give affection, but don't give away your identity. Be vulnerable, but don't abandon your boundaries. And most importantly, never let someone's temporary attention become the source of your permanent confidence. Because attention can disappear. People can change. Relationships can end. But the relationship you have with yourself has to remain. That is the relationship you cannot afford to neglect. When you look in the mirror, you should know who you are without needing someone else to confirm it. You should know what you bring to a relationship. You should know what you will and will not tolerate. You should know what kind of love you're looking for, and you should be willing to walk away from anything that repeatedly violates those standards. Not because you're arrogant, because you're responsible for protecting your peace. Your heart deserves protection. Your time deserves protection. Your energy deserves protection. And your future deserves protection. So the next time a man kisses you, don't ask yourself, did I do enough to make him want me? Ask yourself something better. Did I feel like myself? Did I feel respected? Did I feel safe? Did I enjoy the connection? And does this man have the character to deserve more of me? Those questions put you back in control. Because romance isn't supposed to be a one-sided evaluation where you're constantly waiting for a man to decide whether you're good enough. You are evaluating to. You are choosing to. You're deciding to. And the moment you understand that, your entire approach to relationships changes. You stop chasing approval. You start looking for alignment. You stop asking, how can I make him stay? You start asking, is he capable of staying? You stop asking, how can I become irresistible? You start asking, is this connection healthy? You stop asking, what does he think of me? You start asking, what do I think of him? That is the mindset shift. That is where your power lives. Not in controlling another person's emotions, in controlling your own choices. And maybe that's the real lesson behind everything. The goal was never to master a kiss. The goal was to master yourself, to become a woman who can love without losing herself, a woman who can be passionate without becoming desperate, a woman who can be vulnerable without surrendering her standards, a woman who can enjoy attention without depending on it, a woman who can walk away without falling apart, a woman who understands that being chosen feels good. But choosing yourself is essential because when you choose yourself, you don't become difficult to love. You become difficult to disrespect. And there is a world of difference. So remember those 5 things. A man may notice your confidence. He may notice your presence. He may notice how naturally you respond. He may notice your emotional energy. And he may notice how you carry yourself afterward. But don't live your life trying to impress him with any of them. Develop them for yourself. Become confident because you deserve confidence. Become present because your life deserves to be experienced. Become emotionally grounded because your peace matters. Build healthy boundaries because your heart matters. And choose relationships that bring out the strongest, healthiest version of you. Because at the end of the day, the most unforgettable woman isn't necessarily the one who gives the most unforgettable kiss. She's the woman who leaves a person thinking about how rare it felt to be around someone who genuinely knew her worth. She didn't beg. She didn't perform. She didn't pretend. She didn't manipulate. She didn't chase. She simply showed up as herself. And if someone recognizes that and values it, beautiful. Build something meaningful. But if someone doesn't recognize it, don't spend your life standing in front of them trying to explain your value. Walk away, not bitter, not angry, not broken, just wiser. Because sometimes the greatest form of self-love is accepting that not everyone deserves access to the woman you worked so hard to become. And when you finally understand that, you stop fearing the loss of people who don't value you. You start fearing something else, losing yourself. And that is the loss you should never accept. So kiss with confidence, love with honesty, give with intention, set boundaries without guilt, and never ever confuse a man's desire for you with your value. Your value existed before he noticed you. Your value remains when he leaves. And your value will still be there when the right person finally comes along and recognizes what you already knew all along. You were never supposed to chase someone into loving you. You were supposed to become so grounded in who you are that the love you accept must rise to meet you. That's the real power. That's the real confidence. And that's the kind of woman a man doesn't simply remember because of a kiss. He remembers her because being around her made him realize that some women aren't trying to be unforgettable. They simply are. Thank you so much for watching. If this message touched your heart or gave you a new perspective, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more powerful relationship and motivation videos. Remember, know your worth, protect your peace, and never stop becoming the best version of yourself. See you in the next video.